And we're live. We're going to hit the intro. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of How to Copy and Steal. I kind of feel like I'm putting things together as we're going with this, feeling a little all over the place. Definitely not as prepared for this as much as I would like to be, but today is a dope episode nonetheless. I am sitting down with someone who I've had my eye on for a little while. I think once they interviewed a past client of mine, which is funny because like all of these past interviews I've had have come from me knowing this one client, So Loca, Claudia, and Manny. But yeah, they were on the Mindbuzz podcast, and I was just greeted with this other personality in the space who is kind of just like at it. Since I followed you, like you're always in my feed, just like popping up one after another. And just the consistency and the community that you're building around you, it's very apparent. Today, I'm here with Gill from the Mindbuzz Podcast. What's up, Gill?
Up? What's going on, man? Thanks, Chris. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you for being on and going through
all those kind words, dude. I appreciate that. I'm on your mind 24/7. I'm in your feed. Beautiful.
Yeah, you're paying rent.
Rent free. I'm squatting right now. I'm a squatter. I'm a content squatter.
It's been important. I definitely, as I've been in this journey of creating content, like I've been looking for more, inspiration out there, other people who are doing it, and you definitely are out there doing it. You get me? Like there's no ifs, ands, or buts. Like you're consistent. You have a space. It seems like, it's a consistent space. Like you're just cranking them out. But you're also like, the content that you're creating, it seems like there's more to it than just like a conversation. And though they may seem like just like regular conversations, I get the sense that you're low key building a community around you, and like really, a rising tide, raises all ships. Like it seems like that's what you're doing in the LA space. You're in LA, right? Based in LA?
Yeah, the studio is in Chino. We get a lot of guests from the Inland Empire, and then also downtown LA, Burbank, Long Beach. So we're definitely a Southern California podcast, and San Diego. I go to San Diego every now and then, just to meet people, do build that network. Going to honestly, I feel like we're a Southern California podcast.
Yeah,
because our reach, we reach Northern California. A couple of months ago, we were in talks for having Northern California businesses come and do the podcast. So it's definitely our reach is getting bigger.
Yeah,
as the weeks go on.
No, that's dope. When you mention all those places to me, like I'm a native New Yorker, so like I came out here in 2020, so like I heard some of the names that I'm familiar with, but I haven't really gotten a chance to explore LA as much as I've wanted to. I've mainly just been down here in San Diego, enjoying the likes of like Barrio Logan and Ocean Beach. Those tend to be like my go-to locations in terms of like community and people. So no, it's dope to like see that there is a creative community, in other parts of SoCal. Are you originally from LA, like born and raised?
Originally, yes. I'm from Whittier, California. That's about 30 minutes out from Los Angeles. It's essentially East LA.
Okay. Dope stuff.
Yeah.
How was it growing up out there? Was it the typical LA life? Because like my view of like LA, like I get all of my my I guess not opinions, but like all of my, like when I think of LA in my head, I remember like when I first came out here. So like I flew out to Hollywood for an interview, like I think in 2018 or something like that, and I was severely let down. Like I was expecting to see like Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, like fucking, I don't know, just like the best of the best stuff, and then I was just like, what the fuck is this? Like, this is not what I imagined at all. And then I remember like growing up as a kid, like another thing that like shaped my opinion of LA was the movie Training Day. With Denzel
Oh
Washington and
yeah,
is it
yeah.
Ethan something? I forget, Ethan Hawke or something like that.
Ethan Hawking, maybe, I
Yeah,
don't know.
yeah.
Stephen Hawking, I don't know.
Yeah, but I don't know that those were my opinions of LA and like what to expect. Like it's just something that's big, white out. You might turn on the wrong block and you might have to make a U-turn, but like that was it.
Yeah, usually that's what happens, right? Like places that that feel very foreign, you kind of have this built up expectations from like media, like
Hmm.
from movies, right? Like if I give you my perception of New York, I've never been to New York.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to go, but my perception of New York would be something like Home Alone 2 or you know what I mean? Something like that, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, living in I f I don't know, California is where it's at. I was just having this conversation the other day with Amber, my co-host, and California is just I feel like it's just the place to be. Like the sun's out, there's mountains everywhere. And one day, literally, we did a mountain trip and then we did a beach trip all in one day. Like who can do that, right? Who
Hmm.
can do that besides Mexico?
Yep.
California.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Nah, I definitely get you there. Like it's everything is accessible in regards to like people complain that there is no season, that there are no seasons down here, but it's just like there are seasons. You just have to travel
Yeah.
to them and they're all like anywhere from like 30 minutes to
Right.
like it could be a 2 hour drive just based on traffic and things like that. But I think that's what I love about like SoCal in general. I will say like coming from the East Coast out here, the biggest jar for me was like the passing of time. Like on the East Coast, I could feel the passing of time in a year. You get me? Whereas I've noticed out here on the West Coast with, the seasons not being as apparent, I don't get that sense of like, oh yeah, it's spring. It's October. Like otherwise, other than like the seasonal holidays and things being on sale, like it's not in the air. It's not something you feel. It's not something that's like, oh shit, like it's time to bring out the bubble jackets. Like
Yeah.
it's not. It's definitely not that feel.
Wait, out here? You don't feel that out here
Yeah,
or in
I
New
don't
York?
feel like it's harder
Oh
for
yeah.
me to feel the passing of time out here.
Oh, okay, I
You
see.
get me?
Yeah.
Whereas on the East Coast, like I feel like
Gotcha.
a year went by. Okay, a year went by.
Yeah.
Whereas a year will fly by as I'm out here, and I'm just like, holy shit! Like I need to be more. I need to be on top of my P's and Q's, and I need to be like achieving these goals and reaching
Yeah.
these markings in the sand.
Yeah,
Um,
there's definitely seasons, but it's like winter plus summer.
yeah,
It's always hot and sunny
yeah,
no matter what season you're in,
yeah,
you know. So it's just summer. It's just summer. California is just summer all the time.
yeah,
It may rain. It
yeah.
may rain for a day, but tomorrow's gonna be 85 degrees.
And they freak
Don't
out
worry.
when it rains. Or I don't know
Yeah.
about you, but like things start to like the driving and like people start to like skate around the road and stuff. Like it's a little wild how people take rain down here. I will say like with this recent hurricane we got, I was just like that was not a hurricane at all. But I was it was just we had our baby shower during that hurricane actually. We were a little scared that no one was going to show up, but then when it happened, I was like, bro, like it's just heavy rain. Like I feel like we got more rain in like there was like a time during the spring that it was just like a wet like 2 or 3 couple of weeks, and I felt like we got more rain during then than we got in this supposed hurricane that just hit us recently.
Yeah.
Um,
If anything, this was a Californian hurricane. That's what it
yeah,
was.
yeah,
It was a Californian's version of what, a hurricane should be
yeah.
in California, or at least the
Yeah, let's
west
hope they
coast
don't
of
get
the United
fucking
States.
any worse. Like, because if it's just this, that's cool. Like, I
That's
could
cool. I can
survive on
handle it.
this.
Handle it. While
um,
people were, it was funny. While people were getting ready for that hurricane, we we went to a comedy club. We were just hanging out at a comedy club while I was going through Instagram, and everybody was, "Go get your water, fill up your tub full of water," I guess. I don't know if that's a
What,
thing, I guess.
what are you doing with that?
I don't know. I guess in case the water depletes, or I don't know. There was just all these crazy things. People buying all the top ramen and all the macaroni salad off the shelves. It was crazy. I was like, yeah, I'm not gonna even worry about it. Nothing's gonna happen.
Yeah.
And my partner was telling me, she was like, we should be out getting fat flashlights, getting light bulbs, preparing for the hurricane. I'm like, "But we're preparing right now. We're preparing at the comedy club. Don't worry about it. It's gonna be fine."
Yeah.
And we were fine. I was there was a 50-50 chance. I'm like, please, geez, please don't let anything happen, because this I am very ill prepared
Yeah.
for something like this. And I was, but I mean, I took a gamble on that.
Yeah.
So it
I
was
was
all
gonna
good.
say, good thing like nothing happened. I saw some people with some questionable purchases out there, man. Like, I, we were at our event, like our security guard. She said that she got fucking floaties. She
What?
got like arm floaties and a life vest, and I was like, what do you think is happening? Like, do you think the flood is coming and you need to like start collecting two of every animal? Like, where are we going with this? So like
Yeah.
people at the fucking supermarket with like fucking frozen foods just stacked on top of each other. And it's just like the biggest thing you have to be worried about in a hurricane is not about like it's about your power going out and you not being able to keep that food fresh.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
get the canned stuff. But yeah.
I feel like we didn't Google what a hurricane was. I think the the perception of what a hurricane is, it was totally out of left field of what we thought it was. So
Yeah.
I just Google stuff, ladies and gentlemen. Google what a hurricane is, and then prepare for that.
Yeah.
Or ask Chris, because he's from or ask somebody from the East Coast. Hey, what should I do in case of X, Y, and Z?
Yep.
You know,
I'll
but
tell
we
you
don't.
though.
We just I don't know what these people did.
No. My girlfriend makes fun of me because like as much as I give her shit for that, like she's like, you still haven't felt your first earthquake, and like I'm in a complex on a hill, and like literally we're above our parking garage, and there's just like one beam holding us up above our parking garage. So I'm just like terrified. She was showing me like footage of like mock like earthquake events and like what the epicenter looks like at like 2.0, 4.0, and I was like, shit, like we're going down. Like we are definitely fucking pancaking if that happens to us.
Whoa.
Yeah. Have you ever had like a run-in with earthquakes here?
With the earthquake, I felt most of the 90% of the earthquakes that have happened, I've been asleep.
Okay.
I would wake up in the morning, look at Facebook. Oh my God, did you feel the earthquake? No. Like, I wish I would have, because I was late to work. That would have been nice if the earthquake would have woke me up, but no, it didn't, dude. I remember feeling one a few years ago. Was it during the pandemic? I felt it. I was in my kitchen, and it was weird, dude. Like, I didn't know what what a hurricane, what a earthquake was,
Yeah.
until like I felt it, because I thought like earthquake is something, that shakes, and it was weird. It felt like the earth underneath me was rolling, like there was balls underneath the earth that were rolling,
That's
and that
fucking
scared the
terrifying.
crap. It scared the crap out of me, dude. I didn't know what it was. I'm like, what is underneath my house? Like, what is underneath my apartment right now?
Yeah.
And sure
Did you
enough, it
feel
was a
like was it
earthquake.
like a big a building? Like, did you feel like swaying of the building or like,
Uh, yeah, it was right after. It was weird because I felt the balls underneath me like rolling, and then after that it trickled down to that effect. The building started, or my apartment started shaking a little bit,
yeah.
and it was just weird. It was just a weird feeling. but that was like the smallest. I don't know. It was like a point something. I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't know. I'm not a meteorologist, but it was just weird. It felt weird, and if it was a lot larger, I don't know what I would do.
Yeah.
Like if that tiny little piece of earthquake and it being larger, I don't know that. If anything, I'm more scared of earthquakes than hurricanes
I feel
for
you
sure.
there. I feel you there. Like they're no fucking joke. Like it seems like they just happen when they happen. There's no really like forewarning. There's no like, hey, this is coming to you. This is happening, and it just fucking like it just fucks up your world for like a good couple of seconds. You have to worry about aftershocks, and it's just like you kind of don't know where to put yourself. Like everyone says, like be out in the open, but like how far out in the open? Like
Yeah.
I don't want to. I don't know. Like it
Yeah,
can
maybe be out in the open if you're in the middle of the country. If you're in like Utah or something, but how are you going to be out in the open in downtown LA or
exactly. Like you're
or
always over a scaffolding or something. Like there's shit always just fucking falling. So
right, dude.
no, it's
But
intense.
who knows?
Are
I,
you
I
afraid for the big next one? Are you like superstitious into that, or like are you just like if it comes it comes type of deal?
I'm afraid of these mosquitoes, dude. That's what I'm afraid of.
Why?
Fuck earthquakes, dude. I'm sorry. Can I curse?
Yeah, you can
Hell
curse.
no.
Yeah,
These mosquitoes are crazy. Amber was showing me about she was showing me that these mosquitoes are from like a lab and they're numbered.
wait, what are you
We were
talking about? Is this something I haven't been seeing on the headlines? Like what
I
are we
think
talking about? We
yeah,
talking about like super mosquitoes?
yeah. So these mosquitoes are essentially they're I'm not into the whole story or anything like that, but I just heard that these so like right now California and I think the all of the US is we're infested with these mosquitoes. I don't know if you have seen that lately that uh these mosquitoes are they're very smart,
Okay.
right? They they don't go above the waist. They usually stay below the knee because they've evolved and they know that if they go above the waist, we're able to smack them and hit them, right?
Yeah.
So essentially, the reason why they're so smart is because they were built in a lab. These were lab made mosquitoes,
Hmm.
and they're Chinese mosquitoes,
Okay.
obviously. Made in the lab, brought over here. I guess they were brought over here on a boat, something like that. I don't know. I'm gonna butcher this story, but that's just what I've overheard. We looked at a couple of things. Even if you Google it right now and you look for numbered mosquitoes or something like that,
Hmm.
you will see like pictures of this guy that found a mosquito. He opened up the wing and like it was numbered, like it was part of an experiment,
What the
something like that.
fuck?
Yeah. It's crazy, but my first thought is like, okay, how bored do you have to be to to catch a mosquito and think, "Oh, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna look
Yeah.
underneath his wing." Like, why would you do that? Why
Yeah.
would you why would you why would you find something and look under its wing? Like, I don't get it.
Yeah.
Doesn't
No,
make sense.
that's intense. That's wild. I don't know how to feel about that. Honestly, like for me, like I like to take everything with like a grain of salt. You get me? Like everything I'm not a big like oh, like that has to be real. That's just like fake news type
Mhm.
of deal. You get me? Like I feel like there's a little bit of truth in everything that we see here, like all of the headlines and things like that. I don't know. It feels like we're also going through a time where we may even get like disclosure on like things that I'm super excited about, like aliens and stuff like that. Um, I don't know. I find that trippy. Like I'm fully aware that like same way parents treat children, like we're not getting all of the truth from our government, and why would we? You get me? Like they're
Yeah.
supposed to make sure that we, build a society that can run without panic or fear. You get me? Like why would they give us the whole truth? But like Do I probably think that they have the ability to do everything you're talking about? Yes, and then some. You get me? Like, we've already seen like the fact that we can have satellite imagery that can like zoom in all the way to a fly on your jacket. You get me? Like, and that was portrayed in movies in like what the early to late 90s. You get me? So you can only imagine just like taking that along with the knowledge of knowing that like when it comes to technology, it only gets exponentially faster. You get me? Like, where are we now? You get me? Fucking the other day, I freaked out because I saw a headline where they are applying AI data like tracking and data parsing, I guess, to like analyze data and applying it to Wi-Fi radio signals. Um,
Hmm.
so essentially, what they have found a way to do is to use Wi-Fi signals in a home, and you can measure like where they're bouncing off of things, and essentially you can via everyone's Wi-Fi router figure out how many people are in a home, how many living entities are in a home through someone's Wi-Fi. And they're taking this data and like literally it's like a camera without a camera per se. Like you can see if someone's in a home moving around, where are they abouts in the home just by analyzing the like the time difference it takes for those Wi-Fi signals to come back to
Oh,
it.
kind of like bats use that type of
Yes. Yes. So it's exactly like that, but for
mm,
Wi-Fi. And it's just like, well, shit. It's like we've been doing quantum computing and like all these other things for a while. Like I'm sure like what we see of AI is just like what is coming out, but like how long have they had access to this with like all the Edward Snowden information and shit that we know? Like for all we know, they've been, fully aware of all of us as, as Americans for a while now, just by via our Wi-Fi boxes. You get me? Like,
yeah. So
um,
how do you feel about Wi-Fi? I mean, not Wi-Fi. Well, Wi-Fi is really good. I like Wi-Fi. How do you feel about the whole AI thing? Do you use AI in any of your workflow?
yeah. I actually, I use AI. I started using AI for clips, for micro content,
Ooh,
and things of
okay.
that sort. There's a tool I'm using called Opus Clips or Opus Pro. Have you been using Opus at all?
I've been trying it.
Bro, it's definitely if you've
Dude,
used
it's
Munch before, it's
oh my
10 times
god,
better than Munch.
it's mind blowing. It is. Once I seen that on my feed, I feel like get out of my brain. Instagram and Facebook and Google, get out of my brain because this is exactly what I've been looking for. It
hmm
cut my time in half.
And now you can
I I
fit.
I I actually I timed it. Sorry to cut you off.
No, you're
I
good.
I actually timed it in the amount of I think 4 hours I was only clipping 4 clips, like
Okay.
from beginning to end, 4. So it took me about an hour.
hmm
In in that hour, I using Opus Clip, I was able to clip 20
That's
reels. That's
insane.
insane. That is crazy. But
That's wild.
I am 100% I am on board with this, so I use, AI for that.
hmm
Also, transcribing the podcast for sure, and then also, description of the podcast. I use Buzzsprout, and Buzzsprout has this extra feature called, I think AI, like, AI host, AI co-host. That's what it's called. And it transcribes it. It gives me chapters with actually timestamps on there, and it gives me like a full-fledged description of the entire podcast. It is amazing what
Dope shit.
AI is doing in the podcast space, in the content creator space. It is wild, dude.
hmm
It is wild.
I like
I
to
love
say
it.
like there's no more like it's removing all of like the bottlenecks and things that were stopping us from being so productive before. And it's not like we have our own teams of like, 100 or so people working for us, and we can try things out a little faster, get things out there a little more. Um, I can't wait for like what I've been using Opus for. Like I've been using Opus to create the clips, but I'm still bringing my clips into some editor. While I love the fact that like Opus does almost everything for you, and now they even have like the repositioning, so you can reposition the camera if they didn't get it quite right.
Whoa, you can?
Yeah, you just
Really?
you on the preview, you just click and drag and it just moves it, and you'll see like there's bottom clips on like that timeline, and literally when you go to click on it, like you're just changing it for that bottom clip in the timeline, then you go to the next one, you can change it for that. Same thing with the text. Like if you open up the script
Oh yeah.
next to the thing, before you could only click start here and end here, but now you can select text in between. So like if you repeated word, you can select that word and just remove that word, and
Oh
it'll
yeah, yeah.
just like fill that in. So I've been doing all of that, and then basically I just drag those clips without captions on them into like a video editor tool. So I use a tool called Descript. Not only does Descript give me my transcripts for the podcast, but it allows me to like edit video via the transcript. And I'll use Descript to add like B-roll and things behind the text. So if they're talking about, a football game, like showing B-roll of a football game and just trying to, I don't know, like put that little bit of like extra production quality into the clip making process, and then that partnered with doing things that I do here live. So like I'm not going to edit this podcast. Like literally, if maybe I'm just going to ask you like if there's anything you didn't want to say, and I'll like go and take that out if needed. But for the most part, like all the graphics and things are overlaid here. I was ill prepared, so I'm going to have to add like your lower third, and I want to add a promo for people to watch the Mindbuzz, which now's a good time to do that. If you haven't checked out Gill's podcast, go check out the podcast, The Mindbuzz. You can find it on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all the things, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm going to put it
everywhere.
right on his side. I'm going to put it over
Cool.
over his camera
There we go.
eventually.
Right here.
Also, I forgot to do my host stick. This show is sponsored by Alive Studio. If you are interested in starting a show of your own, please do so at bookalivestudio.com. We specialize in live video podcasts, live shows, webinars. We're even getting into consulting and like helping people build their own studios. So if you're interested in that, bookalivestudio.com. I just triggered it down there. All links will be in the description. So as I was saying, I use Descript just to add that little extra production quality to my clips. I love how like Opus is definitely taking the like I used to listen to my podcast at like 2 or 3x speed just to like relive the moments and be like, oh, okay, yeah, this was a good moment. This was a good moment. And I want to get better at like, because like while I'm recording here, I can like, there's a way for me to like flag timestamps. So like if I like felt like a moment was clippable, I click that button, and at the end of our recording, I would get like a sheet that says, hey, look at this timestamp, look at that timestamp, look at that timestamp, and I'll go to those moments and like connect the dots.
I actually I have that right here.
Hey,
Like, this is my chicken scratches for the podcast that I write down. I'm like, oh, okay, that's a cool thing that he said, and then I'll look at the screen real quick to see the timestamp and write it. But I mean, with Opus Clip, it kind of took that out, but
yeah.
I still write it in just a little bit. Maybe Opus didn't pick that up, but it's just crazy. What other thing do you think that AI can help us out with besides this?
I think yeah,
I have to manifest it
yeah,
because I've been manifesting Opus Clip for such a long time,
yeah,
and I feel like if we come up with something else
yeah.
that we need help in, then there's going to be a need for it, right?
So I think AI is gonna help out with a lot of just like repeated task like situations. Like it's definitely going to like hit the creative world first and hard. And like I can see just like the easy things. So for instance, like though I'm here like doing all the switching and stuff and changing from the camera angles, like a lot of this stuff can now be done via AI through like things like Autopod. You get me? So they have Autopod, which like you essentially grab all your individual camera angles. So you'll like put them all in a Premiere or Final Cut timeline, and then you assign one audio mic to one of the cameras, and basically Autopod just looks at all the audio files and basically knows like if this mic is on, go to this camera. If that mic is on, go to that camera. If both mics are on and receiving signal, go to the wide camera. And basically it'll just go through your footage and auto edit all of it together. And it's essentially doing what I'm doing here, which is just like going to your camera when you're talking, go to my camera when I talk.
Right.
Essentially, like I could see that happening from a live perspective where like there's no reason why the software I'm using now can't know that, you know, I have a 4-channel mixer in front of me on the Rodecaster and just see that, hey, if this person's volume starts going up, go to that camera. If that volume starts going up, go to that camera. If all the volumes are up, just go to a wide camera like what we're at now or some side by side. And then I can really just kind of take a step back. They're also getting better from a perspective of like, I don't know if you've seen like any of the new Sony cameras. Like the new Sony A6700, the ZV-E1, even the new A7Cs. They all have like AI auto framing. So basically,
Whoa.
like they will crop into the sensor and kind of follow your head around a frame, and it makes it look like you have a camera person with you following you within that frame.
Okay.
Similar to, I don't know if you've probably seen like the iPhone, they have like that feature where like if you're on a FaceTime call with an iPad, like you can stand away from your iPad and it'll like just zoom into your face and kind of
Oh, okay.
follow
Yeah, I've
you
seen that.
around the room.
Right.
So that's another thing that I kind of want to play with in the AI space because like as I am playing around with what I'm doing here and like putting people in different shapes and objects and things like that, oftentimes like someone will be like, you know, to the far left and like I don't want to like while I can zoom in on my camera and position those things like I mean like I have the ability to do those things now, but like it's very jarring. You get me? Like if you're looking to your right now, like
Yeah.
I can do those things now, but it just like it's me
Right.
moving and doing these things manually. Um, so yeah, I can see it like just benefiting us in so many different ways. I can see people who do like vlogs really changing their lives because like essentially vlogs are just sequential footage. It's just this was the beginning of the day to towards the end of the day. And if you could give an AI tool all of that sequential footage and be like, hey, this was my day, grab the best moments from it, AI can just look at like past, you know, vlogs that were successful. Like maybe you give it like a prompt, like, I want it to be like Casey Neistat or I want it to be like something else. And they can look at your footage and just chop it up to all those moments. So you don't have to go into that long ass 30-minute footage that you forgot to hit unrecord on, you get me, and find those good moments out of, and just tee you up to getting those things out there. But yeah, I think it's interesting talking about AI in this perspective because like it's one of those double-edged sword things. It's one of those like it's good for us now, but like what other jobs is it going to take away that a lot of people use as their main source of income right now? And
Right.
I like to tell people like, you know, yeah, I feel like it's going to allow us to ask better questions for ourselves, not only from like the prompt perspective of like, oh, like write me an essay. Like it's going to ask us to ask better questions about like, should we be working 24/7? Where we put on this planet to work like this? You get me? Is this our purpose? Or are there other ways for us to bring value to this world that are more than just flipping a burger or, you know, cleaning someone's toilet? Like a lot of these things like deserve to be automated. And but what I will say is like there are always there's always people out there that do those things and love doing those things. And like I feel like there will always be a place for specialists in the AI world because people are always going to want to have that human touch, that human interaction. But I do see, you know, a lot of the things that we, you know, do for a living that are just mundane tasks. I see a lot of those things just going away and us figuring out like better ways to spend our time on better problems. You get me? Um,
Yeah, exactly.
so
Yes. I mean that's the cool thing about AI is they're taking all these mundane tasks away so that way we can focus on the bigger picture of
Y-
our project,
Yeah.
you know. So I think it's a good thing. Honestly, uh, AI has answered my prayers with clipping, because reels have taken Instagram and TikTok, and especially shorts
Mm-hmm.
on YouTube, dude. I get more traction on shorts, and I get more subscription on shorts than any other medium on YouTube right now.
Wow,
That is
you're the second person I'm
100%.
hearing this from. I,
It
I
is.
I tried the whole shorts thing, and I'm not gonna lie, like it didn't pan out for me, and I was just like, I just started doing everything on Instagram, but now I'm just
Mm.
realizing that like no matter what, I'm leaving money on the table. Like I need to be like putting these things on everything.
I
TikTok
would do both,
shorts,
dude.
right?
Do both, because I feel like my audience on Instagram likes different things. Like they they like the, I don't know, the more funnier content, plus also the heartfelt motivation type of content on YouTube. My audience on YouTube likes more informational type of small stories. So I feel that you, whatever content that you're creating for that specific platform, it's change, like it changes a little bit, because the audience that I have on YouTube is completely different than my audience on Instagram.
Yeah. Talk to
100%.
I was gonna ask you like talk to me about those things. Like for me, I'm big into and this is what I do for a living. Like I sell shows to people. But more so I focus on like the creative like storytelling side of things and like helping people build shows around business goals. Um I'm not very as big into like the analytical like data, like how much of that is a part of your process. Like when you release an episode, are you like looking at the numbers and seeing how things change from one episode to another, like the making changes on an episode to episode basis based on your learnings? Or are
I have
you, yeah.
I do it weekly.
Okay.
We do 3 on a busy week, we do 3 podcast episodes a week. Typically we do 1 to 2 episodes. I feel that, well, right now, the analytical, what in analytics, what I look at is at least, I do it once a week, and what really helps is the clips, honestly. And I think the reels and doing these clips and actually seeing what is getting more engagement, then I will try throughout the 2 hour episode or 1.5 hour episode, try to gear it towards that. But also I don't want to lose what the mind buzz is because of that. You know what I
Can I
mean?
ask
Like,
what do you mean by like try to gear towards that? Like do you try to like create segments in your show that you know you're going to get like clippable moments from?
yes. So say for instance, I'm trying to think of a clip that did really well on YouTube. Oh, take for instance, this was just a general, it got a lot of traction and views on, well, at least for me, it got a lot of views and traction. Like it got like over like 50 comments.
Hmm.
It got over like, I want to say like 25 2025K plays. I have to go. It
Yeah.
was a lot.
Yeah, that's shit. That's more than anything I got, bro. Like,
It was more than I usually get, right? And I'm like, "What? Like, what was it?" So, first it was about family. It was me ranting on how I don't want to be the family member to watch any of people's kids. And then 3, I was just ranting, and I was coming from the heart, right?
mhm.
And I was trying to make it a little bit comical. It was it was crazy. Like, it was, I just and I it was a post that I did midday. Like, the timing was weird. Honestly, I just hit the jackpot on this one. I I used some a hashtag generator uh hashtag generator to give me some hashtags from the video.
Is that an
And
AI tool? Like it's called
it was,
hashtag
yeah,
generator? Okay,
it's
cool.
called hashtag generator on Google.
Okay.
I use that and just ask me like, what do you want out of the hashtag though? Give me something funny, give me some family hashtags, and give me please kill me hashtags, because that was essentially the thing. And I now, I mean, it from that was, it was just a jackpot moment, right? Just from clipping, because we don't necessarily, when you're first doing your content, like, you don't know what to clip, like, what's good, like, what is somebody gonna like, right?
Mhm.
You typically clip what you think is good. Sometimes that's not the case. Sometimes you have to really look at what your audience is what they like,
Mhm.
right? And you sometimes you want to do that, but then you don't want to lose, like, maybe it's just that 5 minute clip was, something that everybody else liked, but you not necessarily like. I don't know. It's just
Yeah.
a weird thing, right? But I mean, I don't know.
Can I
I'm
ask,
rambling now.
is Opus doing that for you? Like, do you feel like Opus is finding those moments based on what your goals are for? Or like, do you,
Um,
because I've had sometimes, especially early on, like when I was using Opus, like I felt like it was just like, it gave me like a general starting point, but I was just using it as a means to like, okay, cool. I know to look at this point in the episode now. You get me? And on Descript, I would just type exactly what I'm seeing in Opus and find that moment and then storytell and do the clip from there. And I use it as like a jumping off point. I think it is getting better to the point where like it's starting to predict. And I hope that like it'll start to learn and like build like a voice around your podcast where it, like, it's just very familiar to like your audience, your goals, everything you're trying to do with your show. But yeah, no, I understood everything you were talking about. You weren't rambling.
I'm glad that you brought that up about a voice of, your show, your podcast. Up until a few months ago, I really didn't understand what the voice of the Mind Buzz was, or or it was going to be. I
Yeah.
think that's the hardest thing, right? Like, when you're trying to create something, especially a podcast or a show, it's hard to really find what your niche is or create one, because there's a lot of niches out there, right, that are already pre-built. They're set up for you. Oh, you're going to do a movie review podcast. That's already built in, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's you can not reinvent the wheel, but also you can put like your own little spin on it, but it's hard to find what that little spin is.
Mm-hmm.
Is it going to be funny? Is it going to be serious? Like, is it gonna be, you're gonna have guests? Like, that's the hard part. And I
Yeah.
think over the 3 years of doing this, I was I'm it was changing. Like, every now and then, like, it would change. And I think having multiple guests a week, I found that, one, we're talking to creators. We're Two, we're talking, and creators can be creators of artists. We're talking to artists, musicians, comedians, actors, people that are have this really awesome skill
Mm-hmm.
that they want to share with the world. Second is, how are they doing that? Like, how can they show somebody that has always wanted to do that but was just too scared to do that, right? So giving some people the power and the information on how to change their lives and how to be creative. And then third was just having fun and also giving some valuable insights about the artist that people don't necessarily know, or their audience that they don't know. After I think it was like the couple of episodes right before the 100th episode, we had on a friend of mine, and now he's a really good friend of mine. He's a muralist, and He does his art. I have tons of art pieces of his right here in the studio. He goes by the name of Jesse JFR, and I just seen him last week. He's gonna do a mural in one of our studio spaces, and we tell him every time I talk to him, I thank him because after his episode, there was just something in me that wanted me to change the way I live creatively, honestly. And maybe this may not be a thing that most people can do, but I quit my 9 to 5 job to pursue my creative wants and needs because of him. Because he gave me that, that power of anybody can do it. If I can do it, then somebody else can do it too. And I feel that I just want to share that with everybody that listens and everybody that comes to the podcast to do the podcast, that anybody can do it. If you really want it, you can do it.
Yeah.
And I think that is what the Mind Buzz has become. If you really want to do something, then let's do it.
That's dope. That's dope. You beat me to the question of like what does, Mindbuzz mean to you, and like how do you take this into your show? You were talking about like how you bring creativity into, the podcasting format. And I think like a show that really like changed the idea for podcasting for me was Hot Ones. You ever seen Hot Ones with Sean Evans, where like they
Oh,
interview
okay, yeah.
celebrities and they eat
Right,
hot
right, right.
wings over time?
Yes.
They actually just did an episode with NSYNC. They brought them all back together. Yeah, definitely check it out. But no, I remember watching that show and feeling like, whoa, there's so much more potential to be had here in this podcasting space beyond just back and forth conversations. And like you said it, like there's unlimited niches because there's unlimited personalities. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like no one person is going to talk about a topic the way you're going to talk about a topic. And I love the fact that like your goal is to create a safe space for creativity. Like for me, how I usually like start the podcast is like by asking people that I'm on with is just like, when you hear the words copy and steal, like what do they mean to you? But I get a good feeling that like you view it in the same way that I view it. That it's just like there is no such thing as an original idea, and that like you're taking things that you're inspired by and mix and matching them and figuring out your own style, your way of doing things,
Right.
and doing it in that manner. I remember when I first saw your show, I kind of got some Joe Rogan vibes, and I don't know if anyone else has told you, it's the red curtain. It's definitely the red curtain behind you. Yeah.
Well, there's a lot, dude. There's the red curtain, there's the brick.
Yeah.
I think that's it. I mean, maybe the accent lights too.
Yeah.
But usually every other episode or every other guest that comes into the space, they're like, "Whoa, I feel like I'm on the Joe Rogan podcast." Like it.
Do you take that as a compliment, or are you just like, nah, he's on my that's my shit?
No, I do. Like now I do. I feel kind of like weirded out sometimes, but it's really good. I like the aesthetic. I think that's it. I mean, when we move our studio to when we move, because we're gonna be moving in a few months.
Okay.
I kind of want to change it up a bit, but then also I kind of don't. Like I don't know. Me and Amber, the co-host and producer, we go back and forth on what we want the new look
Mm-hmm.
to entail, but I'm kind of scared because usually when your audience get used to looking at a certain certain art form, right, or certain visuals, they get used to it and they don't like change. Like me, I'm a creature of habit.
Yeah.
I don't want to change it, but maybe we should. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. No, I understand you 100%.
I don't know. I'm scared. I'm scared to see what the change is gonna look like. Honestly, dude. But yeah, I take that. I do do take that as a compliment because it I guess people are noticing like what we're doing, and that's always good.
Yeah.
That's always good. I take it I take every form of uh you know oh, your thing looks like this, your thing looks like this. Uh I don't know, like it's being noticeable, so people are noticing, so that's fine. That's good, right? That's what we want. We
Bro,
want
that's
eyes.
great.
We want eyes. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. No, I think you're doing your thing, and I think when it comes to the fear of changing things up, like I have definitely seen in my past with like current and past clients where like, yeah, you always have to brace for that initial shock. You get me? Like, especially if it's like a full rebrand. Let's say you like redo the Mindbuzz logo and you change up your whole color scheme and things like that. You can expect to get that dip in numbers just because it's going to take time for you to break the what people assume of you, what people are assuming to see in their feed pop up, like your specific thumbnail style. Like they start to grow a bond to those things, and they start to look at their feed and look for your thumbnail specifically. And the minute you start like changing up things, like, and you're trying to see if it's landing better, if it's working better, and like you can't trust the first numbers that come in because those first numbers are always going to be lower because people are just not used to seeing you in that light before, or not used to you doing things like in a different way. I don't know. I feel like you'd be fine, changing up the set or doing anything you want to do. I think just drip feed it. You get me? Like keep the mind buzz, keep the logo the same, and just start with the set design change. And like I would love to, if you're interested, I would love to like put our heads together and like if you'd want to like go into this world of like live production and like doing things live and creating like scenes and segments so that you can do you do live episodes as well as like pre-recorded?
Most of them are pre-recorded. I did dabble in one live, like full live episode. It was pretty fun.
Yeah.
I think uh, it's another. It's probably another thing that I have to. I don't know. Maybe this. Okay, so this is my thing with live, right? Because everybody loves it. Like they always ask, like, what time is this live? Like all the guests, right? I think their initial thought of like what a podcast is, or what they think it is going to be like, is that everything is live,
Hmm.
right? So I we've done it one time, which was pretty cool. I mean, we got, I mean, 4 or 5, maybe even 6 people pop in,
Yeah.
and that this is from me not even, "Hey,
Promoting.
we're going live." Maybe I did one post on Instagram, "Hey, we're going live. Go to the link in the show description. Go to the link in the bio, click on it. We're gonna go live at 7:30 ish type, right?" But I feel like there's more work that I have to put in to do that,
Hmm.
and that's something that I'm not ready for, because I'm the type of person. Amber's the type of person. We're all the type of people that if you're gonna do something, do it 100% and do it consistently.
Yeah.
I think for me, I like to stay consistent. If I'm going to post 2 reels a day, then I'm going to post 2 reels a day, and that's just the way I'm built. That's just my mentality. Other people can be different. They're going to say, "Oh, well, you're crazy, dude. Why would you do why you should do this?" That's just, if I build something already in my mind that I'm gonna do it. So I haven't really played with the live. I did it one time. It seems cool. I want to do it again, but I would have to build a standard operating procedure on how I'm gonna do that. That will make it efficient. That will keep me consistent with doing the live shows.
Hell yeah.
I mean that's just my take on it. I haven't
Honestly, I,
touched it.
I think that's the right approach to go
Yeah.
about doing anything. Like make sure that you can scale it up and do it. You get me? And I,
Yeah.
I like that. I like that approach to thinking about it like that. Cause like, yeah, you don't just want to do this one thing and just be like, oh, well, it didn't work. Like anyways, like, no, if you try it and make sure like I come from like, I feel like that's a lot of what I got from my past work as a
Mhm.
UX designer, as you know, thinking about systems, thinking about bird's eye view. How do we get this done? And that's why I love filming things the way that I film things now, where it's like it's all thought out. You get me? Like it's all just like all the everything's being captured, is being sent through here. I'm able to think of these scenes and these graphics in a manner where it's like, you know, I have a Canva template for lower thirds. You get me? Like I just open it up, I throw your name in there, I throw your @ handle there, I throw the best picture of you in there, and we have a lower third. You get me? Maybe I can trigger a lower third from like someone that I had on the podcast recently. I'll show these just to like give you an example, but like this was like an example of a lower third. You get me? Just something simple, and I just have a Canva file that pulls into. This was like a plug that I did for their podcast. That should. Oh
Oh
my bad.
yeah.
I paused
Oh,
it
there's a
when
cool.
I. There you go.
Nice.
But just like, you know, people can screenshot it, see that URL. So I'm going to be doing something similar to that for the Mindbuzz. You get me? And for your lower third when we like do the whole intro. But I love the idea of like thinking of it in systems. Like technically right now we are recording live. Are we live to YouTube? No. But like when I'm done
Yeah.
with this, I get one file that it has everything I switched, and I even get 3 separate files for my camera, your camera, and this camera here. You get me? And they all have the same audio file overlapped it. So I can just throw them in one timeline. And if I like didn't want to switch to a certain camera during a certain time, I'll just show that one first. You get me? If I needed to do those. For the most part, I'm just like kind of just using what I got and just Jesus take the wheel. You get me? Like we're gonna switch when we switch type of deal. I've
Right.
had times where like someone else is talking, I'm just on me the whole time, like not noticing. It's definitely better when you have a producer with you or someone that's
Yeah.
there to kind of like be part of the conversation. Oftentimes my partner will be the one to kind of just like sit there, watch me talk, and like change
There
the
you go.
camera angles and things like that. So it seems like you have someone on your end that can
Yeah.
definitely help out with that perspective. But hell yeah, man! Like if you
Dude,
want to dabble,
she's become a co-host of the podcast.
hey,
So it's really awesome. It's my partner Amber. She's everybody loves her. She's off camera.
yeah.
She has a mic. She's off camera.
Does she talk
Uh,
on your podcast at
she
times? Is she like your Jamie to your Joe Rogan?
exactly. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a good way to put it. And initially it wasn't supposed to be like that. It was just like, hey, I figured out how to do a 2 camera setup for the podcast. Back then I was just using 2 webcams or 1 webcam, and then I was using a mirrorless camera plugged into OBS, and it was just very
Are
um,
you still using OBS now?
I'm still using OBS now. I'm looking into, because I feel like the 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 visuals are not that sharp because I'm screen
Yeah,
recording.
you're doing everything in OBS. Yeah.
Exactly. So I another thing that I have to look into is just going streaming right from the A10 Mini.
Hmm.
And that's another whole thing that I have to work out the bugs, and it's gonna be different for me, and it's also gonna I have to show Amber how to do it as well. Like
Yeah.
if there's any problems on that end, I have to know how to fix them like on the fly.
Hmm.
If that is if that's also another thing. I'm not making excuses for myself, but I'm I'm just saying I have
Was
to.
she whispering that on the side there?
I know, but that's one thing that I want to at least by the end of the next 2 weeks get that figured out. Because do you feel that there are some, I guess, like de-resolution, or I don't even know how to say it. I'm not in the
Yeah, so
that
there's definitely
space.
some compression happening when
Compression, there we
you
go.
when you start to like go this route. For me, I treat it all as like, hey, every episode is a drop in a bucket. Like when you're in this podcast game, like the goal is not to just have 10 episodes and 10 episodes be it. Like you're past 100 already. You get me? So I think it's more so about the storytelling. It's more so about the environment that you're creating, and are you utilizing all of the assets that you can use? Like, for instance, like, things that I want to start doing, which is things that I do for my clients, is like, how do we segmentize shows? How do we, break beyond just the back and forth conversation? You get me? Like, how can I could have easily developed the scene where, like, when we were talking about the mosquitoes, I could have just searched, you get me, for those mosquitoes and brought it up and put us in a side by side with like a web browser on the left hand, and like going beyond just like sharing my screen and putting it in a box, but like making it still visually pleasing, but also thinking about the fact that like you want to make micro content from this. So I want to make sure that I'm capturing all the angles raw so that you can do that. But also, just in case you don't want to like do that and get those raw angles, and you want to get a clip that involves both of us going back and forth, I want to make sure that if I design like a screen share scene, I can easily still crop into those and grab portrait footage for social. So yeah, I don't know. I definitely like to hear that like you're thinking about going into this world. I would love to like, again, just sit down with you and help you figure this out. You get me? Like, are you a Mac guy, PC guy? What are you guys doing as a base of operations over there?
We're doing a Mac right now.
Hey, God
Mhm.
bless you.
Yeah.
So yeah, honestly, I would suggest just like checking out Ecamm. You're definitely, I mean, if you're a stickler in regards to like, like image quality, like you're gonna get some compression, but still, like,
Yeah.
I'm able to record at 1080 right now. So right now, how I do things is I record at 1080, but I send a 4K feed to my computer. And the reason why I do that is because it allows me to crop into those 1080 images. So essentially, and this is something I want to do a clip for in the future, where like I can turn, like, if it's just me and Priscilla, my partner, like side by side on this, and there's just a wide camera in front of us, if that wide camera is 4K, then I can afford to, like, crop in on me for one instance and use it as my camera angle, and crop in
Right.
on her for her camera angle. You get me? And then we turn one camera into like a 3-camera shoot. Because we can do that. I mean, you're not losing any of that quality because you're sending a 4K signal to a 1080p feed. So it gives you room to just like flex it and things like that. But hell yeah, I'd love to like put our brains together and figure out like how you can utilize the best aspects about going live without necessarily needing to go live. And like, once you get yourself comfortable with the idea of just like recording and knowing that you're switching and like, triggering assets and things like that, the only difference between going live is just selecting the option to go live. You get
Right.
me? Because
Oh
essentially
yeah, of
you've built
course.
the muscle for it already.
Yeah.
And the cool thing about Ecamm is like they have a lot of these tools like built in. So like while I go on Canva and like go on Final Cut to create like cool assets like my lower third that come in with like, the graphic and sound, you don't need to be doing all of that. Like literally I can, throw a timer on screen, and we can time
Oh, that's
things,
cool.
and there's just so many other built-in things. Like I can do a lower third like in front of you where it could just be text, and it doesn't have to be this overly thought out like graphic that comes in and is like trying to like, it can be that cool if you want it to be that cool. And I can definitely, help you figure out ways. Like there are definitely tools that you already know and you're already good at that it just takes of like exporting a video at that size and having that video come into your feed and assigning a button to it.
Mm.
So we use like a Stream Deck for everything here, this is what I'm using to technically
That's
switch right now.
okay, I see.
So as I press the
Gotcha.
buttons on that, it just like changes my angles, but it also can trigger scenes, overlays, sound effects,
Right.
things of that sort.
I think for the most part, I'm not using the A10 Mini to its full potential. I
Yeah.
think I think I've become so comfortable, and
Mhm.
that's what it is. We are so comfortable with OBS that we are not using the A10 Mini to its full potential. We've got the A10 Mini because of the the 4K camcorders that we have inside the studio,
Yeah,
because they were HDMI to mini, or mini to HDMI,
that's what I'm rocking
and
now.
then from the A10 mini to the computer, and then from the Mac to the OBS. It's just I feel that the it's not being used to its full potential, and because I'm a weirdo and I'm still stuck on OBS, and
I
I know.
mean, bro, like you're, and to be honest, like when it comes to the A10 mini, I'm not sure like how much it can be used to better potential unless you're like using their software. And from what I
Mm,
understand, their software is very like it's not as user friendly. It's like you're digging into menus. It's harder to do things like overlays. Like the A10 Mini is solely for capturing like 4 camera shoots, and then they're
mhm,
very limited in how you can play and overlap these cameras. Like
right.
I don't believe they can do a side by side. Can they? Like they maybe they can, but they're
I,
not gonna allow me to like add another, like for instance, like if I wanted to, oh, what did I just do?
yeah,
Um,
it's
oh,
not a side, it's not a side by side per se. It's called a picture in a picture, pretty much. So
yeah,
they'll do the full screen with a small little little square video of like the guest or whatever is plugged into the channel, right?
yeah. Like OBS and Ecamm, they're gonna provide you more like
Right.
granular capabilities of things that you would do in post production, but
Yeah, exactly.
done
Yeah.
live. You get me?
Right.
And I
Right.
feel
Right.
like I don't know, for me, I feel like there's more, that's more empowering,
Hmm.
especially knowing that you're like one step away from going live. And I think that's where, like, when you go live, that's where things really stand the chance to, like, you know, help you break beyond that fourth wall and really build community, because your community is able to affect the conversation. You get me? They're able to
Mm-hmm.
take part of the conversation with you. You can surface up their comments. You can, derive segments to them. You can take inspiration from old morning radio shows and do prank calls and, things like that. Play around with other mediums and bring up people's Instagram feed as you plug your phone in. Like, I love the fact that, like, with my camera now, so like if you have a Mac, for instance, and you're on the same Wi-Fi router, you should be able to use your Mac, I mean your iPhone as a wireless camera. Have you seen that at all?
Oh yeah, what is it
The
called?
continuity camera.
Continuity camera. Yeah.
Yeah.
For a while, dude, I would open OBS, and it would open up my camera automatically, and become part. It would be like a third camera in OBS.
Yeah.
And it got kind of annoying every time I would open it. I would look down at my phone, and the camera would be right there on
Yeah,
OBS.
it
But
can
yeah,
it
that I
can be
think
a
is
little
wild.
creepy if you're
Yeah.
not expecting it, but like I've used it in instances where like the talent of mine, like they are using it as like their own camera behind the scenes. You
Oh
get
yeah.
me? Where
Oh yeah.
like they definitely have their professional camera pointed at them and like getting that whole shot of things, but they also have their own perspective camera where they can like show you what's on the table, or like if something absurd happens and a guest storms off the set, like they can chase them with their phone via like Maury camera and like get the whole shaky footage of them running away from "I'm not
Yeah.
the father" type of deal.
Oh, that's funny.
um, so yeah, I don't know. I think I'm happy to hear that, like, there are people like you in the space that are aware of just like, you know, the fact that there's more out there for you to leverage when it comes to storytelling and telling better
Oh yeah.
podcasts and things like that. And that's something that's been very apparent as I've seen you pop up on my feed. Like, you take this very seriously, and it's very apparent. And it's, like I said, I can also tell, like, with the people that you have on your podcast, they seem to be very curated. They seem to be very like well thought out. And whether they are of similar like background, ethnicity, but even from a creativity standpoint, you know what I mean? They all seem to have a underlining thing in common, and I think you're able to like really. It seems like you're putting together a community and a show where you're speaking to a specific group of people, and your audience is being formed, as it's happening, and it's cool. It's cool to see like you're actively doing. Like I can't wait till I get to episode 100. You get me? It's very hard. It's discouraging. Me hopping in this game, seeing everyone do things. Like, how do you feel when you see like other podcasts that pop up and like people are just using like cell phone footage, and just because they know this one person, or they tend to blow up, and next thing you know they're the next big podcast. Like how do you feel about those things?
That's a good question because that's something that it's you deal with that every day, right? Because you follow podcasts or follow different shows, and they have like over 150,000 likes and comments. It's like, oh, like why aren't I being why isn't that me, right? That's always the case, is like, why not me? Well, sometimes as creators, we have to consider that stuff like this takes time,
Mhm.
and I'm pretty sure that building a brand, it can take time. Building an audience take time. What I tend to go back on is the time. It's like I have to put the time and the amount of effort. I don't know if that answers your question, but I feel like time plus consistency equals results.
Yep.
And when you have that combination of time and putting the same amount of effort that you do with anything, that putting the effort and time into something that you love, and still have fun throughout that journey, it's gonna happen. But you just have to keep working at it. Like for me, I keep working at it, and I do change up a few things. Maybe I'll change up a guest for the week. I'll change up something just to still kind of play with. Not always have podcasters, but I'll throw in a musician every once in a while. I'll throw in an artist every once in a while. I'll throw in a pole dancer that broke their leg on something. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think I'm just uh, always looking, not looking for the next best thing, but on how I can change up a bit. And I didn't really answer your question. I don't think so. Well, now I'm just rambling. No,
Yeah.
don't. So how I I feel like you just have to just work at it.
Yeah.
It sounds cliche, but it's time plus consistency equals results.
Yeah.
And you figure, like, there's this podcast out there that um they've come I so recently I went to a conference right here in LA, in downtown LA, called the Elevate conference, and it had podcasters, it had filmmakers, it had all of the people in our community that do great things, right? And there was comedians there, there was people with shows, with talk shows, with podcast. And what I I've there was this one podcast that I didn't know they existed, right? But they had a huge following. And I think about, like, why not me? Why don't I have that type of following, right? But
Mhm.
the only thing that I'm seeing is their end result or their current result. I didn't look back and how much time did it take them to build this type of audience, right? And I think that's what we're missing too. Maybe some of them, they're comedians and they have already their own following, or they're promoters and they have their audience and they started a podcast, so everybody flocks to their podcast. We don't see the work that they do behind the scenes for their podcast, that their audience gravitated towards.
Yep.
Like, for there's this content creator on Instagram right now. He's gonna start a podcast, and he has thousands of followers. And I'm like, geez, like another podcast. But it, to me, it's like, okay, that's cool, good for him. Like I'm glad that this is happening, right?
Yeah.
It I think when we start to move the dial from competition to I don't to partnership, or to work together towards to get a goal to completed, I feel like it's something that we got to do. Like
Yeah.
the world becomes very competitive,
Yeah.
right? But sometimes it doesn't have to be like that. And I feel that if we all put our brains together and our same amount of energy together to build up the entire community, that's when things start to happen. Versus you versus me. No, we can't do that.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Yeah.
But it takes it takes a different type of person to take that inventory of how you want to better yourself in any type of creative space, because we're not all the same. We're all different, right? Like I'm going to have a different audience than you have. If we get together and create shows and create this specific podcast, we essentially are creating a community right now,
Yeah.
right? Because your viewers are going to see this, and they're going to see me on here. They're going to maybe check out the show, which I hope they do. And then also for my audience, when I do other people's podcasts, they love it. They
Yeah.
love it because I get to talk
Yeah.
and versus me asking these ridiculous questions. Now I've become a little bit more of giving myself a little bit more in the episode, and just people love it because they get to see a different side of me
Yeah.
that they don't know. They don't know the behind the scenes and the equipment. I really don't go out. I don't talk about that
Mhm.
on the Mind Buzz. I usually have this little spiel before we hit record on the podcast. They ask me, like, how long have you been doing? It's the same questions all the time, and I
Yeah.
feel like I don't. If you've been a day one for the Mind Buzz, you know how I came up with the name. You already know, uh, like what my favorite episode is or how long I've been doing this for.
Yeah.
Like you know all that. I don't bore them with
Yeah.
any of that stuff, right?
Yeah.
Uh, and it just it's fun for me to do things like this because I get to show another side of me, and I get to and especially this, like what you're doing, dude.
Yeah.
It's it's another opportunity to me to geek out about the podcast because I want to geek out so much on the Mind Buzz, but I'm not able to. And then some of my audience doesn't care about like what type of mics I use or what kind of cameras I use or what kind of systems that I'm using to create
Mhm.
this community. Like some of them don't care. I don't want to say all of them don't care, but some of them don't care. They don't want to hear it, or they don't understand.
Yeah.
But this is awesome because I get to geek out,
Yeah.
and it's a space for geeks, dude. I love it. Sorry, I don't mean to call you a geek or
No,
anything.
I take that as a compliment. No, thank you, man. Like honestly, and you knocked the question out the park with that that second time around. You were answering it the first time.
Okay, good.
No, like I couldn't agree with you more. Like I think I asked it as just like I don't know, just trying to get an opinion out of you. But I think what I got out of you was so much more beautiful in regards to like yeah, like what I was saying before, like a rising tide does raise all boats in the in that specific place, and like you seeing someone else's progress or someone else's like where they're at, less is like a why isn't that me, but more is like that's eventually going to be me. You get me? As long
Right.
as I just stick to the path, and like this is more proof and evidence that I'm in the right spot. You get me? Like I'm in the right place. I'm doing the right things, and I think you are, man. You're hitting it consistently like no other that I've seen before, and like I can tell that you guys have systems in place because things are coming out and you have your own look and feel and vibe to the show. You get me? Like now, you've even changed my opinion where like I used to see the red curtain and always think, the red curtain of the brick and think Joe Rogan, but now I think Mindbuzz. You get me?
There we go.
And
That's
I
awesome,
think
dude.
you're right. Like the whole idea of like building community and how podcasters grow is by going on other podcasts, because oftentimes people don't realize that like when you're hosting a podcast, yeah, you're not really like, while you're being yourself and you're asking your questions. Like for me, I don't like to come in with questions per se. Like I like to just
Mhm.
have the conversation roll. But like no one's ever gonna get the story of like how I started and things out of me on this show. You get me? Like maybe it'll happen if I do a one-off show where I'm by myself, but like I think you really get those storytelling moments from going on other people's podcasts and being exposed to their workflow, allowing yourself to be on the other side of the table and see what it feels like to be a guest. And I feel like it oftentimes makes you a better host when you come back to
Oh
your
yeah.
show and you're just like, oh shit, like, damn, I really need to slow down the way that I pace my questions or something like that. Things that
Right.
I'm becoming more aware of now. I definitely, love to hop on Mindbuzz and like, return the
Yeah,
favor.
dude. Yeah, when
um,
you're down here, bro.
Hell yeah!
Heck yeah. Let's do
My
it.
my girlfriend, she's getting ready to pop the baby out, but she did say that she wanted to do a LA food trip
Yes.
before. I know you guys have some good food out there. She's really big
Tons,
into
dude.
like Korean barbecue, so I definitely would love to link up and catch a meal and hop on the podcast and like make a day of it.
Yeah,
Um,
dude.
but
When I did So Locust podcast, that's exactly what I did. I went to work for a couple of hours. I was working my corporate job at the time, and I punched out early, left, took that 2-hour ride to San Diego, hung out in Barrio Logan for a few hours until they were ready for me. Uh, got a couple beers, did my trips in Chula Vista, hung out at Three Punk Ales for a little bit, and did the podcast. And after that, I went home. I made a day of it. It
yeah,
was fun. And honestly, dude, I was hoping that I was gonna be able to meet you when I did the podcast. That was I Manny did some a little things different with the camera work, which
yeah.
was awesome. Which was awesome too. But I was like, dang, like I wasn't able to meet Chris from
Yeah, I
Alive
don't think
Studios.
we were able to be there as a part of that day. But yeah, no, definitely. I thank you for just looking out for the work and seeing
Oh yeah,
the value there. Like it's been hard. It's been hard to kind of like sell the value of what we do to people out here and finding the right client base that, a lot of people. And I feel like it's only going to get harder as AI continues to do its thing and like makes things more accessible. It's going to be like it's time for people to really double down on themselves and what makes them special and like how they bring value to the world, because there's a human element that like AI will never be able to reproduce. I mean, hopefully not in our lifetime, but knowing the way things are getting, like it may be in our lifetime. But I don't know. I feel like there's a human element there, and I like to bring that across in the things that I produce, and like I don't know, just make you feel like you're there, but also my goal is to kind of have everyone feel like you don't need that Netflix money to start a show. You like everything you see on TV from like Sports Center and like NFL and all these live productions. Like, yeah, we live in the time now where I can get all that done at a fraction of the cost of what they're using to get it done. You get me? Live shows, music, freaking, let's bring out a teleprompter and let's start to annotate some live footage or like, I can do it all. You know what I mean? There's nothing that I can't do. There's nothing that we can't, bring into the feed and get it done. So I don't know. That's our goal with the live studio, helping everybody understand. And I see a future where if you have a small business or a brand, like brand is key. Like building a brand is important. For me, like I saw it was apparent, like during the pandemic, like it was clear to me that like the people that didn't suffer were the people with brands. I mean, all the name household name brand things, like, they didn't die. They're still here. They're still alive and well. And even the people with smaller brands like Joe Rogan and them, like, they didn't see a dip. If anything, they saw more people watch their shows during those times.
Exactly. Right.
So yeah, I think content is key. I want to hold up any more of your time. I see we're like an hour and a half in. And I know you have a comedy show today. I'm actually pretty sad that we didn't get to talk about your pursuits into comedy. I'm definitely interested, and I hopefully I can get you on for like a second in person episode where we talk more about that and how like you take learnings from performing live on stage into recording a podcast. But we'll save that for another day. I want to say thank you for coming on and, pushing through the sniffles for me. I really appreciate it. And thank you for just giving me your time. Again, I'm going to link everything below. I'm going to give him his own lower third. The whole shebang that I usually do will be done. Probably going to release this episode next Friday to give me some time to record, to make some clips, or have Opus make some clips, and figure out which ones are the ones to move forward with. But yeah, man, thank you so much. Is there anything I can leave you with? Anything you need to say? Any projects you're working on? I'll put the camera on you.
Cool. Just Chris, I just want to thank you for having me on Copy and Still. At first, I was like, "Well, Copy and Still, what we're going to talk about?" But but no, I appreciate it, and I hope that whatever we talked about will encourage you guys to go check out the Mindbuzz on YouTube. Hopefully, we can get a subscription. We're working very hard to get people's subscriptions, to get people's comments and likes. We're working very hard at it, and also we work hard to get your follow. So check us out on Instagram too. You won't regret it if you heard this from the beginning. Obviously, we're doing something over there on Instagram, and hope that we can also get in your feed too. So check us out at the Mindbuzz on Instagram and YouTube. Check us out at Mindbuzz Media. Also check out our website. We have a pretty cool website, and that's mindbuzz.org. And if you're in the SoCal area, Amber and I do a lot of events. We do open mics once a month, and we open up the mic to artists, to poets, to podcasters, to comics. If you want to come up and show your talent, we give you space on stage and off stage with the podcast and the open mic that we have. And yeah, I mean, I appreciate your time, Chris. Thank you.
Thank you, man. Hey, I might have to on a side note, on a separate call, we may have to talk about that talent show. Someone has recently planted a seed in my head as to, should I be running a talent show where we could go live and produce things live and like give comedians the ability to like get that special time. You know what I mean? Like, everyone has their YouTube special or their Netflix special. Like, why can't you? You get me? Like, why can't you see how your jokes land and like see what it feels like to be on stage and get those angles of yourself as a performer, but also as a musician and things like that. So I would definitely as soon as I'm working on a PDF right now to like work through a game plan, but as soon as I'm done, I will tap your shoulder and share things with you and see if there is room for us to work together.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Thank you so much for coming on. As he said, everything is going to be linked below, and I will put necessary graphics on top of the screen just to point you guys to the Mindbuzz and everything the Mindbuzz, from their website and merch all the way to all their socials and getting to each of the YouTube and Spotify pages. My name is Chris. You guys, thank you for watching an episode of How to Copy and Steal. And thank you again, Gill, for joining me. All right, guys.
Got it, man. Thank you.
Take care.